Chew on This. This is our weekly show that we host together with Vlada and Anna. That's myself and Vlada, my partner in crime. And this is the show to make your lunch break insightful and share thoughts and new ideas. We meet weekly on Thursday, 1 p.m. EST. And this is, please mark your calendars. And every week we have an exciting topic that we chew on, and we want you to chew on as well. And today's topic, hi Vlada, how are you today? Sorry, I
I'm
took
good.
I took the
You
floor.
took the floor. You took the floor. That's good because today we're talking about women empowerment. And so you did just that. So,
Yeah, I mean, women can be bossy and women can take the floor. No, no, definitely. So, how was the day today? First of all,
and the day is amazing. I have a March Madness project, which
is
is
that how you called your month,
that's
March
how I call
Madness?
my mom. I know, which means that it's only one out of 12, right? So any other month cannot be madness, which is already, I think, a big step up.
That's, you know what? I wish I had given my March that name as well, because it means that I'm still, the madness is ahead, right? Maybe not, maybe not.
Exactly, exactly. But I am really excited about this topic. So today it's a Women's International Day special, which is coming up tomorrow. It's a Women's History Month, right? So obviously a lot of talk
A lot
about
of
it,
women, attention to women. I
a lot
love
of
this.
attention to women, which might be what makes this a March Madness. But other than that, as two female entrepreneurs, I think it's only right that we talk about this topic. And I know that both of us have a quite a similar point of view on this. So we can kind of chew from one end, if you will, and if you disagree with us, you can chew on the other
If
end.
you disagree, that's your problem.
And I think the view is that biases exist. Men and women are different, and that's what makes it so amazing. And so I think that we as women and as society um, need to embrace the strength. And first of all, it starts with us, right? Knowing our strengths and weaknesses and knowing how to lean into your strength. And I really want today not to talk about sort of victimizing women and saying, oh my God, there are all these biases, which there are. And I do have stories where I've personally seen that firsthand. But I want to talk about how to work through them, how to do whatever you want to do, how to be your best self with biases or without biases, but how to find your path.
Just to add to that, I think it's important that we focus on things that can help us solve the issue, or the situation, work through the situation instead of victimizing, like you said, and instead of just kind of like complaining, because I'm pretty sure, like, I mean, biases exist on both sides, right? So we can I mean, obviously we are the minority here, but it's a historical fact. But yeah, but I think the female superpower is being very intuitive to situations, right, and to different circumstances. And with this skill, I mean, this skill helps work through a lot of issues in a lot of situations. And also the attitude and mindset, I think, well, personally for me, I don't have as many stories as you do, but and of course, I want to hear your stories, Vlada, and I'm pretty sure everyone wants to hear your stories. But I can say that this mindset, like what you think about the problem, not the problem, like the bias, or what you think about the situation, really influences what happens to you in life, right? Like what kind of conditions and situations you go through, right? Because personally, I have obviously worked in a male dominated industry since like the very beginning when I built the company, and I started working with tech companies, and obviously the majority is male there. But I never really like was kind of fixated on the fact that, okay, this is a male dominated industry and I'm being the minority here. I never even like had this like thought running through my head all the time. I was like, I never saw it as is something that can stop me from achieving what I want. And I think that attitude actually helped me exude this confidence and come across as a as someone who's the same in the room technically, right? Because I didn't have that internal fear or internal bias that I was like building upon. And I think that's important because I have met quite a few female in my career, or just like, I don't know, in a
Social setting.
ladies room, people
Yeah.
talking like at conferences, ladies talking things, which is like really insightful, like the situation that you can't even imagine. But like, they a lot of times, when they were talking about stories and situations that were unfortunate and like unpleasant, that was a lot of times, that was not because, but they had that mindset, right? They were already focused on, okay, this is going to happen to me, and that happened. Like, I'm a firm believer in this, you know positive, like, whatever, psychology,
Yeah,
and
we see what we are, right? So
yeah.
if we show up saying, "Oh my God, it's going to be impossible for me to raise this round because I'm a female founder," and not only raising as a founder is difficult, but as a female founder, it's what is it, like a 2% of venture-backed companies are have female CEOs or something like that. Yes, the statistic is really not in your favor,
Not
but who
helping.
cares? It's not, you're not helping yourself.
Exactly, but also, like, if you think about it, it doesn't matter, female, male. If you think about statistics in general, like, layoffs in tech, it's difficult to find a job. Like, people come to me for language and career coaching, and they were like, "Oh, it's impossible to find a job. I'm not gonna quit my job because it's impossible to find a new one." I'm like, yeah, like, it's impossible. Every year is something impossible. So definitely your attitude and the way you
Right.
see things, like you said, yeah, totally. Hmm.
Absolutely. So I think it's really cool to remind all the female audience that we have about the strengths. And so I think one of them you mentioned was intuition, but also if we have male folks listening, I think it's important, from my perspective, you are supporting women, your colleagues, your leaders around you, not necessarily from the kindness of your heart, even though all of our audience, of course, is very kind, but because it's just creates better outcomes. It creates better, bigger impact and bigger business and whatever else you want to have bigger in your life. So
Absolutely. I just wanted to add that, having the diversity on your project or on your team, right? That helps grow the company. That helps the company grow so much because people coming from different walks of life, backgrounds, female, male, gender, and education, cultures, that creates such an amazing melting pot, and you get ideas that, like, for example, we as like two women with you, Vlada, right? We can brainstorm so much, but like, if we get a male opinion, that's going to be a totally different outcome here. So definitely, yes, I believe that biases might be created. I mean, in modern day, because there's so much like on diversity, inclusion, and there's so much on this topic that it's just I don't know. It's hard to imagine that people still create the biases, but I think the biases mostly would
they
come
do.
from the ego perspective, to be honest, right?
Yeah, from upbringing, from a lot of things, right? And then, but again, I think we talked about controlling the controllables, and while you can't orchestrate the biases and mindset of the society, more than just being the champion and being the agent of change, you can focus on what you do well and how to overcome these biases. So I love what you said about intuition, and I think that's really a great quality. Anything else, Anna, that comes to mind which you find
I
women?
actually wanted to add to
Yeah.
intuition because yesterday I went to the event. We went together to the sales event, right? And I was really, I don't know if you heard that part of the conversation, but there was a topic, like there were like, people were asking questions about how do you know that your new salesperson is good? How soon will you find that out? Like how much time can you allocate being a startup or being a company? And you know what? The speaker from the stage, both speakers actually from the stage, they used the word intuition when they answered that question. And we're talking about people who build $1 billion companies here.
Right.
And they said, like, okay, so it can be 30 days, it can be 90 days, depending on the size of the company. But really, your intuition will tell you in 2 weeks whether they are the salesperson you are looking for your project or not. And then I was like, wait a minute, okay. And then there was like another question, and the answer contained the word intuition exactly. And I'm like, oh my God, this comes from CEOs of like top tech companies. And we're talking about things like sales, the metrics, and everything, right? And we align them with intuition. And I feel like this is a perfect example why we need female and male dominated, I mean, female and male dominated equally teams, because
Right.
even in technology, we're talking about metrics, and
Right.
like we have metrics, but on the other side we have intuition.
Right.
So
Exactly. No, I think that's an excellent, excellent point. And
what would you add
I
to the
think,
strength?
yeah, I think generally speaking, again, everyone has male and female traits, but generally speaking, I think women are more empathetic, and so that just creates a more empathetic leader and someone who's more open-minded, and lifting others up, right? Because understanding again someone else's pain, strength, and how to help and coach them to overcome them. And I think that's something for me. For example, I don't know any other way to lead than by lifting others up. And I think that beyond serving customers and creating value, that's just such a joy, right? I think that if I reflect on my own work, what really brings me joy is seeing others on my team really lift up in their entrepreneurial journeys or in their professional sort of career evolution. And so I do think it's thanks to empathy and just being kind of more also collaborative, right? Just being really inclusive and deciding and building as a team, as opposed to me, I said that, we do that.
No,
And
that's a failure approach. Yeah, definitely.
um, another thing that people often talk about is adaptability. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, actually, adaptability. This is one of my favorite power skill to talk about, because it is closely connected to the change, right? Like
Right.
how we embrace
Exactly.
change. And to be honest, in modern days, change is everywhere. And I believe, like the other day, I had a conversation with the lady who's like doing a PhD on AI influence, how AI influence our modern life and professionals. And we were talking about change, and she was like, you know what? One like back in the day, I took this test, like psychological test. I took this test, how I react to change, and she was like, I am actually inviting changes. And I'm like, okay, you are super, like you were born with the skill that most people have to develop, like have to spend years to develop, right? So adaptability, that's the skill that I feel maybe female, that this is our strength, because we are not afraid to be vulnerable. We're not afraid to be emotional, right? Which is like really difficult for, I think, for men, right? Like you don't want to show your emotions, otherwise this is going to be like judgmental and things like that, which makes it difficult to maybe like to be, be adaptive, I don't know, to adapt to certain circumstances and situations. And I feel like that adds females flexibility. And generally, I think these strengths that we're talking about, right? I mean, these are the strengths that regardless of your gender you have to develop and you have to build these days, because like especially not only when again we're talking about work life, but like there is no work life without life in general, right?
Right.
So just imagine all these changes that we have to live through, and then the changes that especially that, like when you're running the company, just imagine you have to make these decisions of like to pivot, right? Or
The
to
only constant running a company is a change, right? It's
exactly, yeah. So like you have to be inviting this and not being like afraid of this, and changing completely, like things changing completely. So yeah, adaptability is a big strength that I think female population possesses probably kind of naturally in a natural way. And then of course it doesn't mean we're just have this inborn talent. This inborn talent has to be nurtured, because if we're not developing, and regardless of your initial skill set, right, if we're not nurturing our talents, it fades away, kind of it fades away. That's why continuing education and continuous growth and learning is really important, because I've been there myself. There was a time in my life where I was like, okay, I'm very comfortable with what I know, with like how I feel. I'm not really like curious to learn more about this and that. Like, this is like, I'm already like successful. Well, I thought I was successful with what I have now. And yeah, but then a few years later, it just like struck me. It hit me really hard when I was like, oh my God, I am an underdeveloped person compared to like, but that's
to
how I
the
felt.
version of you that you want to be, right?
That's how I felt exactly. I had zero feelings of like what I felt previously. That I was like so cool and like but that was exactly, I know why it happened. I invested zero in my personal development as well. I mean, yeah, like as a business, maybe yeah, but I would say I'm more as a human being, right?
Right.
As a female, I mean, as a woman, as a human being in general. I'm not talking about Stanford courses. I've always taken them, but yeah, so that's what I think. What do you think? What other strengths would you add to this?
Well, I would actually want to talk about both a strength and a weakness, because most strength have the flip side, right? That's just kind of how the balance in the world works. And so I think strength is getting things done and being really kind of grasping the details and knowing the facts and being able to build rigorous plans and that all kind of tie together, sort of very organized, etc. And so I think that I feel that strengths, I think I don't know if it's scientifically proven, to be honest, but from if I look at the folks that I've hired, that I've mentored, I do see women just being more organized and kind of factual and in sort of what they've accomplished. But the flip side of this, where I benefited so much from having an amazing co-founder who was not only very experienced but male co-founder, and the flip side of that he coached me on was being grandiose, being
Bigger.
bigger, exactly. And I think that that is really the flip side of getting things done and being so in the weeds, right? And so the flip side of that is, if you're going out to raise money to recruit team, you have to paint a massive vision, right? For if you're building a big business, venture scale business, and your better plan, your business plan that you're presenting better has a many zeros in where you're going to be 3 years from now, right? Otherwise you're not going to raise the money and get this commitment and conviction from investors. And I think that's where when I was starting, I was struggling, because I said, well, how can I show you a 10x plan next year when it's impossible to predict 10x
Not
growth?
enough of a schmoozer.
Right. I just can't, right? Like last year we grew 3x, so I can show you the 3x plan, right? But
Not
the
the 10.
10, not the 10, right? And so I think that really took, I think I was so blessed to have him by my side to really push me to imagine and also be more forward looking. It doesn't matter that I grew 3x last year. I should see and be able to project the possibility of 10x and believe in that, right? And yeah.
So does it mean, are you trying to say, if I'm not mistaken here, that men, they have a higher level of confidence that women lack?
Yes, I think so, but I think the source, because the source of this confidence is different. I think women build that confidence from what they've done, and men from maybe what they believe they can do.
What they can do,
What they can do,
right?
right? I'm not saying they're misrepresenting facts or anything like that, but it just, I think the source of that conviction is different for natural reasons, biological reasons, perhaps, or maybe just the way we were brought up. So I was comfortable talking about, my plan that's
Achievement.
based on all my assumptions and what I've proven I can do in the past, but I, I wasn't ready to take the leap until I was nudged to do that.
I love this story. This is such a great personal story. Any other personal stories?
Well,
Or maybe like, have you had like these challenges? Because to be honest, when thinking about the topic of bias, I was like, when was the time when I was, treated improperly because of my gender? And to be honest, probably I'm lucky, because I know there are a lot of, stories that I heard from other women. I don't really remember that, but like I said, I have never been like focused on this. Like I've never been like fixed on this, and I think, if even if it happened, I might have not noticed that.
yeah,
you know
I think that's the other thing is it's hard to see bias on a personal level because you only can be in a given situation once, and so you have no direct comparison with the control group, if you will. But I have had some, I think I benefited from being a woman as much as maybe biases were against me, right? I got a number of promotions. I had promotions like 4 times in, I don't know, 3 years, and I was the only female leader on my strategy team when I was working in a large corporation. I don't know if I was not a woman, honestly, if that would have happened, right? And so I think that really propelled me, and but I showed up prepared, right? I showed up ready to be lifted, and I was lifted.
Yeah, you showed up ready to conquer.
Ready to
I
conquer.
can't see you doing otherwise.
But I do have one story that I wanted to share, and it was actually in an investor meeting, and I still remember sitting there. It was a meeting number 3, and so they asked me for my financial model, a fund in New York, not to be named, and so they asked to look at my model, and so they popped it open on a huge screen in their office, and they said, "Well, you know what? Your assumption in row 341." is really not very sensible. We don't buy that exactly the seasonality is the way that you are projecting here and whatnot, right? And that was, I was raising for a seed round, right? So, and I was listening to this, and so they were questioning sort of my, the very detailed. I mean, imagine row 341. Most models at a seed stage don't even have that many rows in the first
I
place.
can't I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine your diagram at this point.
Right.
Your
And
table,
so,
your diagram, whatever that was.
right. And so I was sitting in that meeting and I said, you know what? I can either defend my position about the specific assumption in that model, or I can actually do something better. I can actually change the dynamic of this, which I think a man would have done. And I don't know, to me, it seemed like I was in that conversation because I'm more likely to end up in that situation because I'm a female leader. And so I think there's general bias that women are not that good with math and numbers and metrics, which um,
Is that a bias?
I think so.
I'm
I think
kidding. I'm
so. But
kidding.
anyway, so what I told them instead, I said, listen, if in order to decide to investment in my business or not, you need to go to row 341 and check the
I don't
assumption.
want you.
No, I was like, it means that you don't believe in me and my vision and what I'm going to build, right? Because I don't think that my explanation of row 341 is really going to help you, right? Because it's a much broader question, right? Either you believe in me and my ability to build a business and grow and scale as I'm telling you, or not, right? And if you're not, then whatever I tell you about that, last row in my model, which is more sophisticated than most models perhaps that you've been shown at this stage of the business, then it's not going to help.
I have a question, Vlada. This is such a great answer on the spot,
Hmm.
right? So how did you come up with this? Like, was it
Well,
stress
I
that
came up.
accelerated your thinking?
No, I came up with it because of many reps. I think that's what
Mhm.
happens, right? Like any skill, you have to put in the reps. And there were, I'm sure, many situations before that I went with a traditional explaining myself route. And then then I analyzed the situation. I said, you know what? I actually could have received the money if I pushed back, because everyone wants a partner, someone who is a pushover nobody wants, right? Like nobody wants to, if you can't hold your ground as a CEO, then you're just not a great CEO, right? You can be empathetic all day long, but you have to have your clear boundaries and have to have strength to persevere, right? And I think showing that strength in a respectful way, right? Not to say I don't want you as an investor. I think that's a route to nowhere. But just saying, hey, I know I'm building a great business, I have a great team, I'm a great leader, and if you want to be part of it, then you just have to believe that that's what it is. And my kind of high level business plan, or even not high level, but going into the weeds is not going to help you. But yes, again, I think there were probably 20 other situations before that where I didn't do it.
Yeah, so that was technically the result of multiple pitches and multiple handling questions.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's guys. I wanted the secret. There's no secret, only
No
practice.
secret. Do the work. Do the work.
You do the work, do your homework, and rehearse the heck out of it. Yeah, well, I mean, there are secrets, and secrets usually are very basic and very common. And the fact that people just don't see these things as secrets because they want something that is something out of this world, something extraordinary, right? But the secret is, just be consistent with what you do. And regardless, again, don't look for excuses, because I feel like, biases and the fact that, we're talking about cultural diversity, right? We're talking about gender diversity, right? These are a lot of, like, sometimes it might be a good excuse for you for not
Right.
doing something. So instead of looking for excuses, it's good to actually start acting on your goals and achieve your dreams.
Exactly. And I just think the last bit for you guys to chew on, I think Anna had a beautiful wrap there. But I think the last bit to chew on is to reflect on the experiences you have. If you made a mistake, if you didn't say something smart that you wanted to say in a moment, it's hard to do under pressure. Reflect on the situation, make your conclusion, make a mental note, and move on. Forget about whatever didn't go your way, because it doesn't serve you. So
Don't beat
um,
yourself.
don't beat
Don't beat
yourself
yourself
up.
up. Yeah.
And that's a big message today.
Don't beat
um
yourself up. That's a big message today.
it's a big
Because
message.
I feel like being, I don't know about, guys, obviously, I'm not a guy, but being a woman, I feel like we beat ourselves up
Hard.
a lot, right?
Hard.
We're very hard, and that's not the skill that helps people to live a happy life daily. And the goal is, of course, to be happy every day, to choose to be happy every day. So yeah, that's the message of today. Choose to be happy every day. Don't beat yourself up, but instead reflect and invest that time into reflection, because oftentimes we're too busy with many things that we think are important, but like things like reflecting and analyzing things, they're like we think that they're less important, but that actually reflecting also helps you to slow down. So whenever you feel you are just taken into this daily grind and turmoil, whatever, you take some 10 minutes to reflect and see what went great, what can be improved. And we are going to be back next week with another great topic. In the meantime, make sure you give us a follow. We will drop all the information in the description to this video. You can find us as Ana Gandrabura, very easy name, and Vlada Lotkina, another easy name. You can find us on Instagram and on LinkedIn and
Yeah,
YouTube as
YouTube.
well. Yeah, and YouTube as well. Yeah, and tune in for another insightful conversation to chew on next Thursday, 1 p.m. EST.
Happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day. Where are my tulips?